I would like to invite Major General Ya'akov Amidror, former head of National Security Council, former head of the Research Department of the Israeli Military Intelligence and Ministry of Defense Military Security. Major General Ya'akov Amidror will talk about cyber in the nuclear world, and this is also a good example of a real decision-making at the right, not the right, but at the official position. So, Major General Amidror, please take the floor.
Good afternoon. I want to speak about something which is new in the world. It's the connection between cyber and nuclear capacity. If you look at it very roughly, you will see that there is no any connection at the end. At the end, cyber is a new capability that might be used by people to defend themselves or as an offensive tool. And nuclear capability is something different that countries and superpowers are using mainly today as a deterrence tool. But we have to be very careful about it. Why? Because cyber gives, first time in history, capability to other countries to infiltrate under the radar screen without being identified into very sensitive areas in other countries. And that might do two big changes in the whole sphere of nuclear military capability. One, those who are building their deterrence based on their nuclear capability should be very, very careful, because they might find in the crucial day under an attack that their military nuclear capability doesn't work, that the other side succeeded to infiltrate into their systems, and in one way or another succeeded to neutralize the ability to use the nuclear capability, and they are losing their deterrence and they doomed to be distracted. This is one issue, and this is why when it is coming to the combination between cyber and nuclear deterrence, those who want to build their deterrence on nuclear capability should be very, very, very sure about their ability to defend their systems. It is about their communication systems. It's about the ability to functioning the power that they have, and so on and so forth. All this area of nuclear capability should be defended by all means against any ability of the other side to infiltrate into the systems. And you never know if you succeed. This is one of the problems in cyber, that you never know if you succeeded to prevent the other side from infiltrating into your systems. So the question mark about the ability of countries to defend themselves and to prevent the other side from utilizing their ability to deter will be in there forever. You never know if it is if you have it or you don't have it. And this is a question that we didn't have an answer yet in the whole world of nuclear deterrence. What you do when there is such a big question mark about your ability. The second issue is the ability of the other side to give you a picture which is not true about the situation on the ground. You might be alarmed when it is not necessary, and at the same time, to lose the ability to identify when you are attacked by the other side. Because many of your sensors are connected to communication and to all the systems which might be infiltrated by the other side. And here you are not losing your ability to act, but you are losing your ability to understand what is the real situation. And again, here you have to secure all your sensors, all your systems in a way which will allow you to be sure that what you see around you and what you see on the other side is what you really, what is the real, situation. Otherwise, you will lose your ability to judge the situation, to assess what has to be done. And this is a system, this is a problem that is not unique to nuclear capability, but when it is coming to nuclear capability, is much, much more dangerous to the ability of anyone who has this nuclear capability to understand what is the situation, what should be the reactions that might be needed in those situations. This is about defensive side. Offensively, of course, whatever I said about the defense is good for those who have the offensive capability. They can change the whole structure of the other side, not let the other side to understand what's going on, and then to neutralize his ability to react. So all these connections between cyber and nuclear capability are not unique to nuclear capability, but when it is coming to the combination between both elements, it is much more problematic, and the efforts that those who want to keep this capability to deter, that they have to invest in defensive systems is huge. A lot of energy, money, time, capabilities should go to the defend the system that are the basis for the deterrence. Now, the interesting question of today is, we are now more than 70 years after the Second World War. And the question is, why many countries invest in nuclear capability when it was not used during all these years? Why countries, states, leaders invest in this capability when almost everyone understands that it is not for using it? And I think that here we are coming to something to is very, in the psychological side, more than the security side, is the need of countries to be sure that whatever will be the situation, they will not be destroyed by anyone. And countries which has some hesitations about the ability of their enemies to destroy them, the only guarantee that they can have is to build this deterrence based on nuclear capability. And this is why, although it was not used during the last more than 70 years, 75 years, you see that more and more countries are trying to build this capability, and if not to finish it to build the bomb, you can see that for some of them, they are very close, because they want to be in a situation when the danger will emerge, they will be in a situation that they can build this umbrella which will let them to walk in the rain. There is another element here which refer to countries like Iran, North Korea, and so forth. I think it's more about Iran than even North Korea. For them, the nuclear capability is kind of a guarantee that they can continue their aggressive policy in the area, knowing that by having this capability, they will buy the shield which will let them to act behind, and everyone will hesitate to act against them, even if they are very aggressive. Take, for example, the attempt of the Iranians to build their Iranian independent military capability in Syria. Israel is very active to stop them. They know that the day that they will have the nuclear capability, Israel will hesitate. And behind the shield of the nuclear capability, they can build the military needs that they want to have in Syria. So in a way, the nuclear is their way to achieve what they want in the normal world that they cannot have when others try to contain them. The way to stop the containment by other countries is to build this military nuclear capability, which will bring the other side to be less determined in his action. So in a way here you can see the connection between the nuclear capability and the non-nuclear military capability that countries want to have, and they know that the way that they can guarantee that no one will intervene and stop them is the having this nuclear capability. In the Middle East, it's very problematic because, as far as we understand, if the Iranians will continue to build their capabilities and they will have the ability to enrich uranium in one way or another, or to have a reactor which will give them the ability to have plutonium, we know for sure that there are at least 4 countries that are saying in public and determine not in public to purchase this capability. The Turks, the Egyptians, the Saudis, these are the 3 countries that said it in public, that if the Iranians have nuclear capability, they will purchase the same capability. And it is understood why. Why the world is letting the Iranians to have it and not let Turkey, Egypt, or Saudi Arabia to have it. And there is another country in the Middle East, the Emirates, that are not saying it, but they have the economic capability to buy it, to buy the knowledge, to buy the know-how. So here we have a problem which is connected to the world didn't use the nuclear capability in the last 75 years. But by letting a country like Iran to have it is giving a license to other Muslim countries to purchase it as well, because they feel, as I said at the beginning, that the only way to deter Iran is having their own nuclear military capability. And here we are facing a huge problem that, in spite of the fact that this capability was not used during the last 75 years, the change in the balance of power in the Middle East and the ability of the Iranians to have it in the next few years is leading to impossible situation in the Middle East, in which other Middle East countries, states will have this capability, and the whole balance of power within the Middle East will be very, very shaky, because to handle a Middle East very volatile area in which there are 4 countries, Iran, Turkey, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia, with a nuclear military capability, will be almost impossible. This is why, from my personal judgment, I think that it is critical to the world to stop the Iranians and to prevent the other countries from being in a problem that they might face when the Iranians will have this capability, and they will decide to do the same, and the Middle East will be another Middle East. It will be a new Middle East, if you want to use this term relating to the problem that we are facing. So, yes, cyber is very much connected to nuclear capability, but it's not changing it basically. It will be the same problem, the same rules will be needed, but countries with nuclear capability will have to invest huge amount of energy, money, and time to defend their capability. And in the Middle East, unique situation in which the definition line is very clear. If Iran has nuclear capability, the Middle East will change dramatically. Other countries will have it, and it will be a totally different Middle East. These are the two remarks that I wanted to make as a beginning for the panel. Thank you very much.
I'm honored to present the next speaker, Dr. Vadim Khasdan, the chairman of the Israel Union of Chernobyl Disaster Liquidators, one of 600,000 liquidators who deal with the aftermath of the Chernobyl disaster. Dr. Khasdan, you have the floor.
שלום לכולם. קודם כל, רציתי להודות למארגנים של כנס בינלאומי, הכוח הגרעיני. הראשון ומיוחד במינו על הרעיון ועל זה שהזמינו אותי להציג את הארגון הציבורי, ברית מסייעים לנטרול אסון צ'רנוביל. או במילים אחרות, ליקווידטורים אשר גרים היום בישראל. תודה רבה לדוקטור אורי ניסים לוי על היוזמה והנחישות לקיים את הכנס למרות כל הקשיים האפידמיולוגיים בעולם בכלל ובארץ בפרט. שמי ודים חסדן, ואני משמש היום כיושב ראש ברית ליקווידטורים, אסון צ'רנוביל בישראל. אני לא מומחה בתחום הכוח הגרעיני, ויכול רק לנסות ולהביא בכמה מילים את התחושות של אותם אנשים שהיו באזור האסון ופעלו למען המדינה ולמען עתיד טוב יותר. אני השתמשתי בפרזנטציה בצילומים של מנטרלים מהארגון שלנו, ואני רוצה להגיד להם תודה על הנכונות למסור את המסמכים והתמונות שלהם. כפי שידוע לכם, אסון צ'רנוביל הוגדר כתאונה הגרעינית ואסון אקולוגי החמורים ביותר במאה ה-20. כאשר בעצם מדובר בדליפת של הכור הגרעיני לאחר פיצוץ באחד מהריאקטורים בברית המועצות לשעבר, בשנת 1986. 55 בני אדם נספו כתוצאה ישירה מן החשיפה לקרינה רדיואקטיבית, ובהמשך מתו אלפים כתוצאה מנזקי הקרינה. אומדן המדויק של הקורבנות לא ידוע. ועל פי הערכות הוא נע בין 15 ל-80,000. בשקופית הבאה אתם יכולים לראות את העיר פריפט, שממוקמת ליד, סליחה, הכור הגרעיני לפני שהוא התפוצץ. ובשקופית הבאה אתם יכולים לראות את התחנה הגרעינית צ'רנוביל על שם לנין לפני אסון, וגם עולם של אנרגובלוק או ריאקטור מספר 4 לפני פיצוץ. אני רוצה להוסיף ולציין שבברית המועצות לשעבר ניסו להסתיר כל מידע קשור לתאונת שהתרחשה בכור הגרעיני. אבל כבר למחר במדינות סקנדינביות נמדדו עלייה חדה במדד הקרינה באזור. כתוצאה מכך לא הייתה ברירה לשלטון הסובייטי אלא להודיע על התאונה ובעצם לקחת אחריות אליה. ולמרות זאת ההודעה הגיעה לאחר איבוד זמן יקר והרבה לחץ. בשקף הבא ניתן לראות כור גרעיני מספר 4 לאחר פיצוץ. וחשוב לציין שלא ידוע לנו עד היום מהו מספר מדויק של המשתתפים בניטרול תוצאות אסון צ'רנוביל. מדובר בטווח של כ-600,000 עד 900,000 בני אדם. למעלה מ-4,000 מנטרלים עלו לישראל מאז אסון הגרעיני. נכון לעכשיו נותרו בישראל כ-1,300 מנטרלים חיים, ולכל אחד ואחד יש כמובן טרגדיה אישית שלו. סיפור מצמרר משלו וטראומה מתמשכת אשר מלווה אותו ואת משפחתו עד סוף ימיו. כל יום ובעצם כל שעה נשארים פחות ופחות אנשים אשר לקחו חלק פעיל בניטרול אסון צ'רנוביל. ולכן חשוב מאוד להקשיב לסיפורים שלהם, ללמוד מהם ולזכור בלי העבר, כי בעצם בלי העבר אין הווה, ובלי הווה אין עתיד. בשקופית הבאה אנחנו יכולים לראות מסמכים של מבנה הריאקטור ומפה רדיולוגית של האזור שנשלחו אליי על ידי מהנדס בניין אלכסנדר קלנטירסקי אשר השתתף בבניית סרקופג מבטון מעל ריאקטור מספר 4. בשקופית הזאת אפשר לראות את המנטרלים מחזיקים שלט עם אליו רשום הבטחה לבצע את המשימה שהוטלה עליה על ידי ממשלה. כאן יש תעודות של ליקווידטורים שנשלחו מטעם השלטון הצבא. כבאים בעבודה ובמנוחה, וכאן תמונות שמדברות בעד עצמם, פנים של ליקווידטורים. עזרה ראשונה, הנהלה של הכור באוקטובר 1986. בניית מבנה סרקופג מבטון. כאן פנים של ליקווידטורים, עוד פעם, עם הקומנדנט של התחנה, מוסך ליד בלוק מספר 4, עם רמות גבוהות של הקרינה, וסיום, בניית מבנה סרקופג, מבטון בסוף נובמבר 1986. שנה הבאה אנחנו נציין 35 שנה לאסון צ'רנוביל ולסיום בניית סרקופג. כמו שאמרתי לפני כן, בברית המועצות לשעבר, לקח הרבה זמן עד שהשלטונות הבינו בכלל את ממדי האסון וההשלכות הנוראיות שלו. הם בעצם לא חשבו על מה יכול לקרות אם הם לא יטפלו באופן מהיר ויעיל במה שהתרחש באותו רגע בכור הגרעיני. כתוצאה מכך הם התחילו לגייס בעיקר אנשי צבא, שוטרים, כבאים, רופאים, ואת כלל אזרחים כדי לטפל באסון. בזמנו הייתי סטודנט בעיר גומל, בלרוס, במרחק של פחות מ-200 קילומטר מהכור הגרעיני אשר התחיל לשחרר קרינה קטלנית. הנהלת האוניברסיטה הסבירה לסטודנטים שהיו בשנה הראשונה שלהם בתואר, שאם הם מעוניינים להמשיך בלימודים, אז הם צריכים להתנדב בעבודות ניטרול באזור הקרוב לכור. אני קורא לזה התנדבות בכפייה, או גיוס חובה. למרות שרוב הליקווידטורים כן הרגישו אחריות לעזור במצב הזה. כמובן שלא כולם השתתפו במבצעים המורכבים של כיבוי האש או עבודות בכור עצמו. חלקם היו בעורף טבחים, ספרים, מחסנאים וכדומה, אשר תרמו את חלקם באופן עקיף, ובעצם הם עזרו לאלה שהיו בחזית, שנלחמו בעצם בחזית עם האויב בלתי נראה. לדעתי, מה שחשוב בסופו של דבר הוא שאנחנו הצלחנו לגלום את התפשטות הקרינה, ומנענו מאסון הרבה יותר להתרחש. כאן כמה שקופיות מהעיר צ'רנוביל, שאני צילמתי שנה שעברה. כאן פסל של מלאך מברזלים, לזכרם של הנפטרים. סמטה עם שלטים שעליהם רשומים שמות של כפרים ויישובים, אשר פונו בעקבות הקרינה. כמה תמונות מהעיר פריפט שצילמתי באותו סיור בשנה שעברה. וכאן סרקופג חדש מפלדה, אשר נבנה מעל סרקופג ישן מבטון. קבוצת ליקווידטורים מהעיר באר שבע, בערב יום זיכרון לאסון צ'רנוביל בשנה שעברה. לסיום, אני רוצה להוסיף ולומר שהדבר הכי גרוע, לדעתי, הוא שרוב האנשים במדינה שלנו בכלל לא יודעים שום דבר על המקרה הנורא הזה ועל הגבורה האמיתית של אותם אנשים אשר בגופם עצרו את התפשטות הקרינה לשאר המדינות בעולם. נשאר לי רק לקוות שבעתיד אנשים לא ישתמשו בנשק גרעיני לצורך מלחמה ולא יתרחשו עוד אסונות כאלה. תודה רבה על ההקשבה.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vadim Khasdan. And I think we can all see an excellent presentation that shows us that reality is much less glory than real life and than the papers. So the reality is sad and is dramatic. And unfortunately, most of the research shows that the problem of nuclear, huge incidents is not the incident itself, is not the nuclear, is only one major thing, which is the management of a national event emergency. So thank you very much, Vadim, for this presentation, and I hope we can contribute to you and your partners. And later on, in a few presentations, you're all going to hear Professor Gad Renard, which is the one that is the head of the research, cancer research in Israel National. He will show you that he has more than 1,000 files of the real liquidators that all Vadim's friends and families and people that were actually in the event. So this will be, I really expect to hear about this, the presentation later on. Also, I would like to explain that sarcophag in Russian, as far as I understood, is a grave. And there are two sarcophags were built. The first one in 1986 was built 3 weeks after the incident. And the second sarcophag, which Vadim showed us, is the one that cost $100 billion, $3 billion with the foundation of the European Union. But why? Because, and I'll show you next in the next few presentations that I will present myself about the ONDM. I was myself at those places 3 years ago, really right in the middle of like 50 meters from this nuclear power plant, the one that got hurt, and it's not dangerous and you can be there. But the sarcophag that was built about 3 or 4 years ago is built for 100 years, and hopefully until then, they will find a solution because it's a real problem. In other words, 50 meters from the heart of the power plant is not a problem. Inside, it's a huge problem, and I hope the European Union will be able to solve it. So thank you, Vadim, for this, hate to say that, real presentation. Not glory is life, not glory is a presentation. This is life, and it's very sad. And I really hope that no people will get hurt, and we all, as security personnel, as researcher, will be able to be smart and to manage national security, emergency, real life in a better way in order to not to get damaged. So thank you, Vadim. I would like to present the next speaker, Dr. Joshua Sokol. Dr. Sokol is in Jerusalem College of Technology, Lev Academic Center, a member of the Nuclear Forum. He will talk about mass evacuation for saving life in a nuclear incident cost benefits consideration. I know Joshua Sokol for a few years, and I can tell you this is, in my opinion, the definition of real scientist. when we discuss and we have a deep discussion about nuclear, about research, there's not even one sentence that this person, Joshua Sokol, take and find resources in the information. And many times, like I hope you will talk about the presentation, you will see that he's talking about something that everybody takes an advantage and say, this is the real life. And he said, no, this is not the real life. And we have to study more and to change more. And on the same side, as a real scientist, he can be with a hard position about something and said, okay, I got confused, I got mistake, and I changed my opinion. In my opinion, my personal opinion, with Joshua Sokol, this is the definition of a real scientist. He also was a researcher in CERN in Switzerland, and he did his PhD in high energy in the institute, in the Weizmann Institute of Science. Dr. Joshua Sokol, please take the floor.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and shalom from Israel. Thank you very much, Dr. Levi, for this opportunity. Thank you very much, everybody, for your valuable time. So let's begin. I'm going to speak about mass evacuation for saving lives following nuclear accident. The work was performed in collaboration with Dr. Inovsky, Dr. Levy, Dr. Shaki, and we would also wish to acknowledge our colleagues, our friends from my home institute, Jerusalem College of Technology, and from all over the world. I'm going to speak about radiation exposure consequences, about the evacuation consequences, and about cost-effectiveness analysis, which compares consequences of evacuation and of radiation exposure. When we speak about exposure consequences, we should treat differently the large-scale accidents at nuclear power plants, where mass evacuations were performed, and other scenarios like dirty bomb, transportation of spent nuclear fuel, etc., which are generally at much smaller scales. We have published two papers in International Journal of Radiation Biology dedicated to these two scenarios. And since now we are going to speak about mass evacuation, I am going to speak only about the accidents at nuclear power plants. So what do we have? First of all, the radioactive products of nuclear fusion in general have rather short lifetime. After several years, the radiation level falls to 20% of the level after just 1 year. And in general, I'll now give you a figure that may puzzle some of you. The overall lifetime exposure by the radioactive products of fission reaction is only triple the first year dose. Okay? The lifetime exposure is 3 times the first year dose. So what does it mean from the point of view of consequences? Assuming the linear null threshold model is valid, at the International Atomic Energy Agency action level for evacuation, which is 0.1 sievert during the first 12 months, we have lifetime exposure of 0.3 sievert with the cancer rate at 5% per sievert, which is a more or less accepted estimation according to the linear null threshold model. We have excess cancer risk of 1.5%, and the life expectancy shortening is just 2 months. Okay? Before I go further, I would like to stress this number. Lifetime exposure at the present action level causes, according to the linear null threshold model, to life expectancy shortening by 2 months. This number should be compared with the human cost of evacuation. So let's go further. Let's speak about the evacuation consequences now. Evacuation causes direct loss of life, evacuation related. Evacuation causes loss of quality of life after evacuation, during the evacuation, and evacuations also causes loss of wealth that causes loss of life. We'll discuss it a little bit later. Let's speak now about the loss of life. After Fukushima, during the first 2 years, about 1% of evacuees died of several reasons, mainly depressions, psychosomatic disorders, and so on. So we have 1%. Yes, most of these dead were aged 60 plus. The estimated loss of life of each person was therefore about 10 years. Very roughly half of the difference between 60 and the average lifetime of 80. We come to the estimation of direct loss of life due to evacuations, which is 0.5 life year per evacuated person. Okay, 0.5 life year. Now let's go to the loss of quality of life, which is also very important. Without going into details of our calculations, which is, as a matter of fact, rather complicated and not so important when we suggest that evacuations is to some extent analogous to deafness, we suggest that the evacuation causes 20% loss of quality adjusted life years per year of life in evacuation, according to the data of the World Bank. And assuming the adaptation time of 2 years and summing with the direct loss of life, we come to the estimation of 0.5 quality adjusted life year, or if we conservatively assume only half of our estimation of quality of life loss in evacuation, we come to the total of 0.3 quality adjusted life year as a result of evacuation. Once more, 0.3 quality adjusted life years per evacuation. So when we compare evacuation and non-evacuation at the present action level at 0.10 per year, we have certain immediate loss of life, 0.3 life year, and hypothesized, according to the LNT, future loss of life of 0.165 life year. Puzzling, yes? So the present action level is just not prudent, contrary to what is usually said. Moreover, as we know, at Fukushima, the action level was taken at 20% of the recommended by the IAEA, and as a result, the loss of life was much more than any considerable gain of life. Well, now, after we said that the present action level is not prudent, which is action level, which is prudent, is when minimal averted radiation dose that justifies evacuation. So, why the International Atomic Energy Agency considers radiation a risk only without thinking about the human cost of evacuation, we should stress that evacuations bears costs. There are direct human costs that we estimated before, and there are also monetary costs that are also translated to human costs, to loss of life. Why loss of wealth means loss of life? What is sorry. So let's continue. Why loss of wealth means loss of life? First of all, less funds for health care. However, in my opinion, it's not the main reason. The main reason is that poor people live less. They take riskier jobs. They work harder. They have more stress. Their diet is less healthy. Their lifestyle is less healthy. And they use less safe products. Just as an example, rather close to me and rather tragic, I can share with you that two people that I knew personally died in two independent traffic accidents. And as the post factum analysis of the accident show, in both cases, these persons would most likely be not only alive but also healthy if their cars would be just $8,000 more expensive. So in these two cases, which once more I know personally, let's say about $16,000 were worth, let's say, 80 years of life altogether. So let's continue. Cost effectiveness analysis is therefore appropriate, connecting wealth and life. What is cost effectiveness analysis? Let's consider loss of wealth due to evacuation. We have abandoned private real estate, abandoned infrastructure, temporary unemployment. Without going into details of the calculations, we have the total number of something about below $200,000 per evacuee. And as a matter of fact, this is a low estimation, theoretical low estimation. If we go to the real world, after the Fukushima accident, compensations only comprised about $350,000 per evacuee, and not including the loss of infrastructure. So let's say $400,000 per evacuee is some, well, let's say it's high estimation, though I would say this estimation is more reasonable. So what do we have? The low estimation is, let's say, 185,000 per evacuee. The high estimation is 400,000. Let's say that the range is $200,000 to $400,000 per evacuee, loss of wealth due to evacuation, not to the accident, to evacuation. What about cost effectiveness of this money? National health insurance of most developed countries approve treatments which yield between 50 to 100 $100 per life year. This is the number cited, for instance, by the up-to-date clinical decision database. That is, investment of 50 to 100 $100 in healthcare instead of in evacuation adds statistically one quality-adjusted life year. So let's compare the figures. The relocation costs $200 to $400 per evacuee. Cost effectiveness threshold for healthcare 50 to 100. If we take figures most pro-evacuation, it means the lowest relocation cost and the highest cost effectiveness threshold for healthcare, we still have that relocation life loss due to loss of wealth is more than 2 life years. Not counted the direct loss of, say, 0.3 life years that we counted before. Now we are in a position to compare the life loss due to radiation exposure if the population is not evacuated and the life loss due to evacuation. At the present action level, the life loss due to evacuation is just by order of magnitude more than the radiation exposure. And the lowest prudent action level is something above 1,000 millisievert, 1 sievert per year, tenfold the present action level. Now, an epilogue. Let's speak about the coronavirus crisis management. In Israel, for instance, $25 billion is the estimated cost of the lockdown. If we translate this figure of 25 billion to life years lost, we have 250,000 life years lost. How this translates to lives? Mean age of the coronavirus victims is about 80 years, with their life expectancy of about 6 years. This means that 250,000 life years lost means something about they can be compensated by 40,000 people saved from the coronavirus. 40,000 people in Israel saved by the lockdown. I suggest that everybody, including the decision makers, answer this question by themselves. To summarize, evacuations bears high human costs, both direct and indirect. The radiation level is not as dangerous as usually depicted, and radiation level for evacuation should be increased at least by a factor of 5. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sokol, for this information. And I was a part of this research, and I have to say that we all were shocked by the different number of reality and what decision makers are telling us. We have one question for you, Dr. Sokol, but one remark before. First of all, I thank everybody for surviving until now. We are training you in order to be with the nuclear real incident, which hopefully will not happen. So we do have some high numbers of viewers still so far, and I hope we will go on and hear the other presentation as well. So we have this question for Mads Johnson from Denmark, and the question is, Dr. Sokol, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The question is, what do you see the parameter or the difference between the decision maker once they make a decision, and how much do they really listen to the scientists, and not only scientists, but people from the profession, for example, from the people from the IAEA or any commercial authorities that concern to the nuclear, please.
Well, regarding the extent of the listening of the authorities, I cannot tell you much since I don't have such an experience. What I would like to say that the scientific approach and the decision-making approach are very different. Science is about facts. Politics, and now I speak politics in the best sense of this word, is, let's say, preferences. Science can tell that this solution with such probability will cost, let's say, 100 lives, and this solution will cost 10 lives. However, it's not the question for scientists, but it's the question for the decision makers, for the politicians. And once more, unlike many people, when I say politician, I can use both positive and negative sense. Now I use the most positive sense. It's the question to politician whether 100 lives in this scenario is an acceptable price for the society. It's not the question to scientists.
Okay, Dr. Joshua Sokol, I really thank you for this, and hopefully the politicians will listen to us and cost lives in the future. Thank you very much for being part of this conference and everything you do in the committee. So thank you very much, Dr. Sokol.
Thank you very much, Ori.
Okay, I would like to invite our next speaker before the break, Dr. Joseph Shoef. Dr. Shoef is the manager of the largest laboratory of non-destructive examination with radioactive materials, a member of the Nuclear Forum. He's going to talk about uses of far-reaching examination, radioactive tools, and material. I would like to add that, as you see in the conference, we try to bring people that work with real-life materials. And Dr. Shoef, when I was in a fascinating tour they did to me in the laboratory, which I hold uranium and plutonium. I did hold it in my hand. It was frightening, but I saw people like, they're bringing a bread from the grocery store. So thank you for this very interesting tour. But he told me they are the largest laboratory in Israel, and they take give and take materials, probably about 300 or 400 cars a month. So every day and every night, cars going and coming to test all over Israel, to do materials. So thank you very much, Dr. Shoef, and please take the floor.
Good day, all participants. I hope you enjoy the conference. My presentation is about the use of industrial isotopes and radioactive material and its complicity. I'm Dr. Yossi Shoef, CEO of Gabi Shoef company, which notes this year 50 years of activity in providing non-destructive testing. We will call it NDT, with high activity gamma radiation sources. The company is the largest NDT Israeli company, employing some 130 personnel, and uses radioactive isotopes in more than 10 tasks every day in different locations in the country. The use in Gabi Shoef is for radiography. The sources are transported by company vehicles and its certified employees. There are some other industrial uses except for radiography. Infrastructure testing laboratories use gamma and neutron sources for testing density of the upper layer of soil. There are some 500 sources of cesium-137 and beryllium americium 241 in the country, with low activity of 10 to 150 millicuries, where any emergency event is not very dramatic in this activity or harmful, and therefore will not be discussed in this presentation. Now, what radiography is? We use a gamma source here as radiation source. It emits beams of radiation, radioactive radiation, ionizing radiation. It goes through the object to be tested and hits the film, radiographic film, or any real-time imaging device. Now, the density of the radiation is proportional to the density of the parts, and therefore if there is some kind of a void or air void inside or some kind of non-metallic inclusion, we will get different color, different gray scale on the film, and we'll be able to detect this kind of anomaly. This is how we see the people working on the field. Here is the weld to be examined. This is the film. Here is the tip of the guide tube. And the isotope is here in this projector, which is shielded by heavy metal. And with a remote control, we take it out from the shielded projector to the end, here to the end, the projection at the end. And after operating this from far away means something like 10 meters. So the radioisotope will be here for a certain time, maybe seconds, maybe minutes, and hit the film after passing through that part. Another configuration of radiography on the field, you can see here how it works. This is different type of projector, an old version, this is a new version, and here is the instrument that holds the source before and after, before it starts and after it is finished. How it works, here is the stored position where it is. I said it is in a heavy metal. Usually this metal is made of tungsten or depleted uranium. And then this is where it's stored. When I want to take it out, I use the manual control unit, and then it goes out to the tip. From here, it makes the radiation on the subject. As I said, maybe for minutes, maybe for seconds, maybe for hours. When I finish, it comes back to the stove, and then I take it back to my lab in the car. The projector, different types of projectors. Here on the left, we can see a selenium 75, which weighs only 8 kilograms. It is made of tungsten. In the medium, for iridium 192, 23 kilograms, made of depleted uranium. On the right, this is a transport container in an overpacked drum. What we see, the blue thing is the drum, but inside there is a container made of depleted uranium where I can use it in order to send isotopes after they are not usable because they are too weak. I send them abroad for reload. And also I receive it from them this way. All these units are considered as a BU type package. What is a BU type package? BU type package is a package that can resist different environmental conditions. For example, like a thermal, it is approved after passing thermal test, which means 30 minutes to environment as of a hydrocarbon fuel to air mixture, and at least of 800 degrees Celsius. After that, a free drop test from 9 meters on a solid ground, and then immersion test in a 15 meters head of water for 8 hours. Only after that, it is considered to be BU. This is what we transport in our car, or we send it abroad by aircraft. Now, the sources that we use in industrial radiography, this is iridium 192 with energy, with a medium energy. It's quite high, but in the isotopes it is considered medium, up to 600 keV. The flux is, as you see, 5 millisieverts per hour for each Curie at a 1 meter distance. And so on, the selenium 75 with a lower energy and a lower flux. And the cobalt-60, which has a very high energy and high emissivity, is not in use anymore in Israel. There are 2 or maybe several, let's say 3 or 4 sources that are not transported to work on site. And therefore, this is less of our concern in this stage. All sources emit gamma radiation, which is electromagnetic radiation, and are sealed for alpha and beta particles, which is good for us. Industrial used isotopes have activity between 10 to 100 curies. Remember those isotopes that we ignore that have about 10 millicuries in the beginning of the presentation. The dose limit for radiography employee, I mean a personnel that work with radiography, is 50 millisievert per year. Dose limit for any other person, we will call it civilian in this presentation, is only 1 millisievert. That's because other person can be a child or a pregnant woman. Annual background dose from sun, soil, body, our body, and medical any examinations is 4 millisievert, much more than 4 times what is allowed to the civilians from radiography. Well, what the problem is that if a person staying by mistake at 1 meter away from an exposed Viridium-192 source of 50 curies, he will get every minute 4 millisievert. If is unnoted to that, he can stay there half an hour to get much more, of course. And this is 4 times of the permitted annual dose. Fortunately, due to very high safety margins, no biological harm can be detected until this person will get 100 millisievert or more. And remember that only 1 millisievert is allowed. But if a civilian touches, or not only civilian, but usually it will be civilian because he's unaware of the danger, if a civilian will touch the source above or put it in his pocket instead of staying at 1 meter, the dose, because of the closing of the distance, will rise squarely, and the dose will rise 10,000 times higher, and then is lethal. Now, how do we get the sources into Israel? There are some manufacturing source for the radioactive sources. One of them is South Africa reactor. They are manufacturing a reactor. One of them is from South Africa, but we have one problem, that there is embargo on export of depleted uranium due to the NPT Israeli non-signatory. And there is a problem, and therefore we usually buy our sources from South Africa, but we ordered a special transporting container, which is made not of depleted uranium, but from tungsten. American reactor, no problem for the transportation through Israeli dealer. Russian reactor, the same problem with the embargo, and therefore they pass it through Belgian dealer, Israeli dealer, and the end user. What about the transportation in the country, this is mostly the origin from danger to the population, what we call the civilians. 25 uses of radioactive sources every working day. This is not only Gabi Shref company, this is all the NDT companies. And this is 24/6 for 6 days. Each one is transported by a commercial authorized vehicle and a driver, which is with a permit. There are 2,500 kilometers every day of high-strength isotopes moving on the roads. If a job lasts a few days, the source cannot stay on site with other tools. It cannot store them. It has to be brought back to its authorized, shielded, and secured cabinet. All this leads to more traveling. What are the main hazards in transportation? One of them is theft. Theft of a hot vehicle is a controlled event. The safety measures our users are aware that the car is not allowed to be unattended. For ex-military personnel, it is like watching its personal weapon. That's what we tell to our employees, to consider that as a personal weapon. So far, only one case of radiographic source stolen with a car was published in the country, where warning announcements were spread then by the media and the car was returned. What about car accidents? This is a less controlled event. So the safety measures are that the radiation apparatus containing the source is restrained to the vehicle chassis. The instrument is a BU-defined container. Remember, can hold fire and impact, can hold this, and is approved to survive in this case. There is a proper car labeling and warning signs, and we have to report to the authorities prior to every job that we do. Then they are noted about where we are going to do that, what kind of isotope we are going to get, how many hours it may take. So they are not notified about that. What else can be done? What else is done? The users, the technicians and drivers have refreshing training and examination annually. This is what is done. Companies know that any violation of the rules can lead to termination of the permit and lose of their business. All radioactive material carrying cars are checked by authorized personnel for integrity monthly. What else can be done? Training of relevant officers in the municipal authorities to understand what radioactive material is. People naturally have overreaction and fear for radioactive hazards. After all, each of us gets 5 times the annual allowed dose from the sun, materials around, and even from our radiating body. To establish fast emergency procedure instructing how to deal if a car is stolen or has an accident in the middle of the night in a populated area. And of course, keep taking care. Thank you for your attendance, and for any questions, you are welcome to call me. Bye.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shoef. And I say again, thank you very much for the fascinating tour that we got. I'll tell you, all the audience, I'll tell you a secret. Until today, we're doing a reserve in the military. I myself was in the coronavirus at the beginning of the year for more than 2 months. And I want to tell you a secret. When we bring a soldier to the reserve, what we do with them, we squeeze them until the end. And when they finish, they say, oh, this is a good army. The money is expended good, and we all. So we're trying to do the same with you, the audience. Instead of dividing this long day for 2 or 3 days, we decided to do it in one long day, and I hope you agree with us. And if not, we'll see what to improve for next year. In a few minutes, we'll take a break of 10 minutes, and I want to tell you what's going to be right after the. First of all, we know we have to improve one thing, which is very important. We only have 2 or 3 women on this fascinating day, and we know we need to improve this. The lady should come forward, but we are, as an organizer, should improve that too. But right after the right after the break, we have Dr. Michal Margalit. She is the head of a laboratory, very unique laboratory, that they're doing radiological dosimetry, biological dosimetry. What they're trying to do with the foundation of the Israeli Ministry of Health and the foundation and the supporting of the IAEA in Vienna, they're trying to do dosimetry. Each one of us and each person will have, like you have a blood type, AB, etc. You're going to have a specific code, and they will know how sensitive you're going to be to radiation. So that's the time to do. And Dr. Michal Margalit, which is also took us a tour. We took this fascinating tour in Tel HaShomer Hospital, and we'll see this tour. So she's going to tell us how it goes. So I would like to take a break with all of you for 5 minutes break, and then we'll come back and we'll go on. Thank you. 1 minute. Let me say we're jumping into section D, which is the last section. We still have a few more lectures, and Michal will open the next session. Okay, so let's take a 5 minutes break.